In July of this year, I was so lucky as to be able to go on a trip with my dad, brother, sister, and my girlfriend Melly to the Italian island Sardinia. One of our activities was, of course, to visit the beaches and enjoy the beauty and refreshment the island has to offer. And another activity I went after, which you can probably guess, is photography. In this video, I want to show you the photography of two particular days on which we visited the beach called La Pelosa and the next day the neighboring beach called Del Gabbiano. And both of these beaches are flat sand beaches with bars, restaurants and other attractions, and a whole lot of people coming for the day. During our stay, I had a lot of time to just sit around, swim, relax and just practice photography, but also to observe and think. Observation, of course, comes naturally when doing photography, and multiple aspects of this whole concept of going to the beach were circling in my head because I noticed how interesting the beach actually is from a social perspective. I was getting a few shots I was really looking forward to seeing developed because I had a good feeling about them. Before even seeing the results, I felt that these photographs captured a sort of symbolic representation of the aspects of the beach that were going through my mind. And so in this video now, I want to share those thoughts and the photographs with you and gather further thoughts within the community. Before I speak more about the photographs, let me elaborate on the thoughts I had while observing the beach. The beach seems to be a place of oppositions and irony, a place where we at first glance may perceive the beach or aspects of it one way and then later, at a closer look, another way. The two poles seem to be pretty much opposites, sometimes creating this sense of irony. When we arrive at the beach and overview the wide space that is not really available to us because so many people got here before us, we can already recognize the first discrepancy. What do we see when looking over the beach? The sea, of course, the sand in the case of a sandy beach, some bars, restaurants, or even a lifeguard if the beach happens to bother for one. Possibly most prominently, we will however notice the fellow humans that have gathered here. This obviously depends on the beach you're visiting. In this video, I'm referring to the two beaches I visited, which are two well-known and popular beaches on the island, so unsurprisingly, there were a lot of people, and now I was adding yet another person to the bunch. What stands out within these people is that they're all gathered in little groups that mostly seem to avoid each other. This is where I sense this irony on the beach. The beach is a place of simultaneous human gathering and social distancing. While people come together to enjoy the beach as a group, they usually distance themselves from all the other people on the beach. This becomes especially apparent when we observe the little camps that each group constructs to mark their space of residence for the day. Each camp, mostly consisting of towels and blankets, leave enough space between each other to enable passing and relaxation without bothering the neighbors. Speaking of relaxation, this brings me to the next point. Once the camp is set up and we can fully embrace the beach life, we encounter the next opposing aspects of the beach. I assume most beach visitors come to the beach to enjoy their time at the beach, sunbathing, swimming, relaxing, or playing. When observing my own behavior and emotions, and those of a few others, I got a different impression than I had expected. It seems as if, here again, the beach is a place of oppositions. It's a place of relaxation and frustration at the same time. As light-skinned European tourists in Italy, skin protection with sun cream is a necessity. This process is often perceived as tedious. Also, the choice of going to a sandy beach inevitably leads to sand finding its way onto and into absolutely everything. People from coastal areas who grew up with the sand don't seem to be bothered, but the majority of others did, me included. And so, when I caught myself complaining about the sand getting everywhere, I found it odd that I'm annoyed by the very thing I actually came for. The last discrepancy I want to talk about is the first one I noticed and the one that gave me the idea for this video. The beach is a place of consumerism. While the route for the visit to the beach is the beach itself, the landscape, and the nature as a whole, most beaches are nowhere near their natural state. Countless sun loungers and protectors are neatly aligned on the beach, bars and restaurants are scattered around the edge of the beach. Numerous inflatable beach toys are floating in the water or placed next to people's camps. The light brown color of the sand gets interrupted by all sorts of vibrantly colorful plastic toys the children like to play with on the beach. The opposition I see here is the intention of enjoying nature and the heavy alterations of that nature. Now, I don't hypocritically want to claim all this to be bad. I mean, I enjoyed the two beaches and all of these aspects myself. I'm part of the whole thing. However, I found it so interesting that the beach has this ironic nature in multiple aspects. And now that brings me to the photography I was able to create at the beach, which I think captures this irony of the beach in an intriguing way, which in my opinion gives the art a valuable level of depth. The following photos were all shot on film with the Pentax K1000 on either a roll of Fujicolor C200 or some on a roll of Kodak Color Plus. Let's start off with this rather light-hearted photo of the friendly lifeguard. I liked this high seat he had for himself to maintain an overview of the beach and thought a sort of faraway portrait of him with the sky in the background could look quite cool. This is what I got, and I love that he was so friendly as I wove to him with my camera and he gave me this smile. He seemed quite happy up there, not at all bored as many other lifeguards often seem to be. Then let's continue with a double page. Here are two photos of Melly. These are also both still quite light-hearted and don't particularly carry the symbolic character I was speaking of, but I decided to keep them in this little series seeing as I find that they are a decent establisher for the collection. Then here comes one of my favorite photos. I think this one is quite funny and it holds a sort of absurd character. This is a subtle example of the consumerist aspect of the beach. This child was having a wonderful time examining the sand or something in the shallow waters with this cool mask I was seeing everywhere around the beaches since this year. As I saw this scene, I immediately wanted to get a shot because I just found it so funny how this child was somehow trying to snorkel in this most shallow water possible that additionally had the simplest sort of ground to be looking at. I believe it was just enjoying the use of the new toy, and that is exactly the consumerist character of this photograph. Next, I have a photo that is similar in the way that it shows how the beach is being altered. Close to the lifeguard, I found this white plastic chair that looked sort of forgotten and lonely. But at the same time, it has a bit of romance and comfort because of the beautiful beach it is surrounded by. It again just perfectly shows how seemingly the gorgeous nature of the beach is insufficient for comfortable enjoyment. A plastic chair helps with that. Then next, let's continue with this photo, which displays the two worlds perfectly and points out the discrepancy. While coming to the beach to enjoy the nature, many get distracted by the pretty things they can buy from this creative shallow water shop. I admit, I also thought it was pretty cool. Then here are another two photos which show this clash between the beach, nature, and the people and extra entertainment. I want to repeatedly make clear that I don't want to point at this and tell you this is bad or judge this in any way. I just found it so intriguing how these photographs capture the two opposing worlds in a single frame and leave it to the viewer to collect some thoughts. To finish off this series, I want to include some more light-hearted photos again. The left photo is simply a photograph of Melly getting a photo herself. On the right is a photo I shot as I saw my shadow in the water and thought that the textures of the light created by the water looked pretty. So that was my little beach photography series. I hope I could in any way make my thoughts clear to you so you understand what draws me to these photos. They're in no way something I would consider to be good work of mine, however I do enjoy the conceptual value they seem to have. As always, please leave your thoughts in the comments, I'm curious of what you think. And that's it for this week. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it. Consider subscribing if you haven't yet, and I'll hopefully see you again next week in the next video. Until then, goodbye.